America. Welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. We begin with some breaking news out of the Middle East. If you haven't heard, since the launch of Operation Epic Fury 60 hours ago, 2,000 targets have been hit by joint forces. Unfortunately, among the targets or the headquarters of fortunately, the IRGC taking out Iranian Navy ships, air defenses, ballistic missile sites, and things like that. But of course, and this is the unfortunate part, not coming without sacrifice. The Central Command this afternoon confirming that a total of 6 U.S. service members have been killed in action so far. Our hearts and prayers go out to them and their families. But before I get to my thoughts, let's head over to our Middle East correspondent who literally just came back out of the bomb shelter live in Tel Aviv. Zach, you just had air raid sirens and actually some missiles shot down over your head.
Carl, I think that's the fastest I have run in a long time. What we were watching here was the incoming phase of these missiles, and something I've never seen before, and I hope never see again. The warhead broke apart, and we could immediately tell it was a cluster warhead. Broke up into about 24 smaller warheads that were glowing red. I don't know enough as to whether these have those boosters where after the terminal phase, when it's falling back to the Earth, it's firing a secondary booster to try and speed up and go even faster towards the Earth as something else is heading. My photographer is just pointing out. We got another interceptor outgoing. We just got the all clear, so I took my helmet off, but maybe that wasn't the smartest choice here. Yeah, I've got my back to the east, which is the way so I apologize that I got my back to you there as we watch the incoming coming our direction again from this way. What that looked like, though, was cluster munitions about 10 minutes ago that just dropped into central Israel, and then another ballistic missile that screamed into the north in Haifa. We're still waiting damage assessment. We're hearing ambulances run all over the city, and we are hearing that there are reports of impacts. This is not the only attack in that last wave of about 10 minutes ago. We're getting reports coming across now. Abu Dhabi and in the UAE also under some kind of missile threat, and it looks like Bahrain as well, Carl. Considerable attack that took place, and we were getting alerts, and at the same time, as we've been having questions about Hezbollah all day, are they in, are they out? Well, that attack came across, and in the north, Hezbollah launched a rocket attack, a believed rocket attack. We're waiting for confirmation from the IDF, but that's the way the alerts came across. Yep. They launched that attack at the exact same time, so it looks like the two best buddies are back at it again. Well,
Zach, stay safe over there. Keep your helmet on, buddy. We'll see you soon. All right, but first, Iran, pink mist in parking lots. Let's do this. This is what a $1 trillion war machine looks like. And to all the people who doubted Pete Hegseth, wow, you got that one wrong. In a weekend, a single weekend, we completed the near total destruction of the Iranian command structure. At least 48 confirmed killed, 2,000 individual targets hit. The IRGC headquarters, missile defense systems, soldiers' barracks, and all 11 key Iranian naval vessels in the Gulf of Oman were sunk, and we have complete control of the sky above the region.
Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America. We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it.
The world was just informed in the most clear, certain terms that we're bigger, faster, stronger, and more capable than anyone else in the world. We can upset regions at will in a weekend, a far cry from the last 4 years of dudes in dresses. America is back in the business of killing bad guys. And if I had to speak at the UN this week, this would pretty much be my speech. That we changed the topography of Iran's nuclear facility last year, and you didn't know until the windows 10 miles away shattered because our planes don't have radar signatures. We snatched the president of Venezuela in the middle of the night without a single American casualty, and we were back before breakfast. By the way, all the Chinese air defenses were useless against our fighters and eliminated. And then we decapitated a regime that has been building for 50 years to fight the United States, and we did it in a weekend. This Ayatollah has been screaming about this kind of stuff for 40 years, and we killed him on day one of this campaign. Say hi to Allah for me, dude. Remember when I told you last week that the three biggest air forces in the world, the U.S. Air Force, followed by the U.S. Army, then the U.S. Navy. Russia claims a bunch of planes, but they don't actually fly. So here's the deal to anyone who wants to pick a fight with the U.S. The United States of America has 13,043 active planes in our arsenal. We used 10% of them for this operation. Only 4 of our 20 B-2 Freedom Doritos, by the way. We had another 40% of our Air Force on standby. Just for comparison, Iran had 551. Most of them identify as were. We used 2 carrier battle groups for this operation. We have 11. We use less than 10% of our Navy to do this. We didn't even need my people. Not one SEAL or Delta or Ranger or other SOCOM units were used on the ground for this. Not one of nearly 500,000 Army soldiers hit the ground. Not one of nearly 200,000 Marines that, believe me right now, they are frothing at the mouth to get into this fight. Not one of the National Guard or Reserve troops had to be called that already wasn't on duty. We didn't even need to call the Coast Guard, which is good, by the way, thank God, because Democrats currently have DHS shut down on funding, so they don't have any money to do this. Not one of the 1.3 million troops that we have set foot in Iran for this op, and yet, in 48 hours, we did the equivalent of taking out their entire cabinet. Their Joint Chiefs, gone. Their Pentagon, dust. Their White House, gone. 80% of their Air Force, sinking and disabling a quarter of their Navy, shutting off their internet, blocking satellite transmission. Then just for fun, we hacked their national TV networks just to play Trump's speech about liberating Iran. Funny also, too, all of a sudden Russia wants to have conversations with us. Bet you China ain't feeling so good either. You see, peace is when you're capable of great violence and choose not to use it because no one else questions your ability, which is our goal. But I'm very glad that Pete Hegseth made it clear that we are not in the business of nation building.
This is not Iraq. This is not endless. I was there for both. Our generation knows better, and so does this president. But we're not dumb about it. You don't have to roll 200,000 people in there and stay for 20 years. We've proven that you can achieve objectives that advance American interests without being foolish about it.
Funny how when the goal is to actually win the war and not to launder trillions of dollars, you don't get 5,000 troops killed and drags into a 20-year war. Yet somehow Democrats have found a way to complain and are seeking congressional power to veto Trump's ability to do this.
Decision the president should not have made. He has not made the case to the American people. He has not made the case to Congress. He sought no authorization.
Trump's attacks on Iran are just wildly illegal.
Ending autocracy in Iran and growing one here in the United States cannot be the plan.
Yeah, from their safe kitchens and living rooms. Okay, Trump did this in less time than it took you guys to get your domestic travel booked and then back to D.C. So go ahead, take all the votes you want. Basically over. Which, by the way, you didn't do any of this whining when Obama drone-struck Muammar Gaddafi or the other 2,400 or so people that he killed with drones, 4 of which were Americans, or when he killed bin Laden, or when they left our ambassador to die in Benghazi. In fact, Pelosi actually then agreed with me now.
You're saying that the president did not need authorization initially and still does not need any authorization from Congress on Libya?
Yes.
Wonder what changed? Oh, Trump changed. More recently, none of these Democrats seemed to even care when Biden did airstrikes on Iranian proxies in Syria. In the first month of his pregnancy, drone strikes in Somalia, also against Iranian proxies. For his entire presidency, he actually did that. Or when he did more drone strikes in the Red Sea on more Iranian proxies in 2024. But yet, here's Mark Kelly whining that troops are doing exactly what they signed up for, writing, Trump ripped up the Iran nuclear deal and created this mess. Now he's putting service members in harm's way with no clear plan and no congressional approval.
There's no real plan here. And often these things do not go the way people think they do, especially the people that don't serve in the military, you know, like this president.
There certainly was a plan, and it was executed pretty flawlessly, dude. That's why we join the military. That's why we go into the military, to go into harm's way. That's literally my goal. Bro, I am Carlton Milo Higbie IV from Greenwich, Connecticut, with a family network in finance. I could have made millions of dollars at a hedge fund, but instead, I dropped out of college with the sole condition of going into harm's way because my recruiter told me that I would get to shoot bad guys in the face. Mark Kelly's just a loser. But since you guys want to vote to stop Trump midway through, let me explain why that would be absolutely stupid. Because probably that's why you did it in the first place, because you're all morons. But between 50 and 80 installations in Iran are currently operating on something they call a dead man switch. And if they shut up for 5 seconds, they would realize this, and they would learn this from Pete Hegseth. I hope the Gang of Eight was briefed on this. Iran has rolling orders to all of its outposts around the country in the event of an attack to seal communications and execute predetermined orders with missiles and rockets. This is what they call a dead man switch. I don't know how many of these outposts have been taken out, but it's almost assuredly not all of them yet. And what if the next launch from one of those many outposts is at one of our bases in the region? I mean, just let Trump cook here. The left let Lloyd Austin conduct all kinds of wild operations after he screwed up the Afghanistan withdrawal, by the way. On one time, he even went missing for like general anesthesia and didn't tell anybody that he was gone for days. I think the libs should sit this one out. I also want everybody at home to know that most of these pilots that are conducting these flawless operations, they're not even 30 years old. They're operating with limited ability to tell their families that they made it back from their most recent bombing run, where they probably have young kids at home just praying for their safe return. Sometimes I haven't seen these folks in 6 months. So maybe instead of dumping all over their mission, Democrats, because you don't like Trump, how about you sit down, you shut up, and maybe fund the DHS so the same terrorists that Democrats let in the open borders for 4 years can actually be apprehended before they carry out another terror attack on our shores. Either way, Pete, Trump, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Raisin Cain, well done, guys. I think most of America is on your side. Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin, sir, you've been in this for a little while. Pretty impressive mission.
It's been very impressive, Carl. I mean, but we saw the same thing underneath President Trump in Venezuela. We saw the same thing going on in Iran. The fact is the president was given options by General Cain and Secretary Hegseth. They made sure that they were trying to do everything they could to mitigate the risk, but give the president A, B, C, and D, understanding the risk is still there, and they executed on it. But you know what? If you heard Secretary Hegseth said, some of the plans that they're talking about has been around for years, in some cases decades. But this president, President Trump, was the first president to step up and say, we're eliminating this threat with the Ayatollah that has killed thousands of service members and injured thousands of civilians and service members for the last 47 years. And now what? Now the Democrats want to gripe about it because why? They don't think this guy was a bad dude. They know they know he is. Just the fact is their derangement towards anything President Trump is doing has got to be automatically bad.
Right. Well, President Trump obviously just posting on Truth Social saying, quote, if I didn't terminate Obama's horrendous Iran nuclear deal, Iran would have a nuclear weapon 3 years ago. That was the most dangerous transaction we've ever entered into, and it had been allowed to stand. The world would be an entirely different place right now. You can blame Barack Hussein Obama and sleepy Joe Biden. Thank you, President Trump. Yeah, you know what? Like, these guys talked a big game, and everybody, even including some of your colleagues on the other side of the aisle, sir, they said, oh, this is, the regime's got to go. They did nothing.
Right. They did absolutely nothing, and then we would do something. They want to say it's illegal and it's unconstitutional. But what's interesting about this is every time that the left can't actually articulate their message, they want to say it's racist, it's illegal, or it's unconstitutional, but they never give facts about it. They never say why it's racist. They never say why it's illegal. They never say why it's unconstitutional, because you and I both know the president is well within his authority. And then, by the way, this is the same authority that Barack Obama used in 2016 to drop 26,000 bombs in 6 different countries in just 1 year, and never once even informed Congress of what he was doing. And Joe Biden used this same authorization, that AMF is the same authorization that we've been using since 2001 to conduct his bomb dropping and drone strikes against even American citizens. And so when President Trump has followed the law by informing Congress within 48 hours, Article 2 gives him broad authority to be able able to protect our interests home and abroad. And he has to, if committing troops, he has to come to Congress within 60 to 90 days. That's the law. That is the law that Congress had worked out with the executive branch, that the courts have weighed in on, and the president's well within those 60 and 90 days. I mean, think about it. In less than 3 days, really, we have almost eliminated their ability to even conduct reasonable strikes. We've taken out their leadership and 40 other individuals. As the president joked about a while ago, he's creating jobs in Iran, which I thought was hilarious. And right now, as you alluded to in your opening statement, what you call the dead man switch, they call it Nazar. They're operating underneath the Nazar, which was already these pre-targeted hits that they were looking to try to put pressure on Arab nations because they thought their friends, which they have no friends in the region, was going to come to the rescue, or they were going to put pressure on the United States. But it's just the opposite. Those friends, so-called friends, they didn't like the Ayatollah. They didn't trust the Ayatollah, and now they're coming to our aid and giving us assets and the ability to fly in their airspace and use their airfields.
Well, Senator Markwayne Mullin, we appreciate it very much, sir.
Thanks, brother.
All right. Author of Manufacturing Delusion, How the Left Uses Brainwashing, Indoctrination, Propaganda Against You, former NYPD intel analyst in counterterrorism and former CIA analyst, Buck Sexton. Buck, before we go into the international, you worked in the counterterrorism, especially in the NYPD. Are we on high alert here, and what is going on domestically that we should be worried or not worried about?
Oh, good to see you, Carl. And yes, we're on high alert here, and we've already been hit. I think everyone should keep that in mind. Yeah. This attack in Austin was clearly what you would call a lone wolf or self-radicalized domestic terrorist, exactly the kind of stuff I used to work on in CTD, or the Intel Division of the NYPD. Externally, we would do this in the Counterterrorism Center of the CIA, which was CTC. Sorry for all the acronyms. The point is, I used to work against terrorism cases, and this was clearly a terrorist who shot these individuals in that bar in Austin. He didn't make it hard to figure out why he did what he did. He walked around, I think, with a shirt that said, like, property of Allah, and had Iranian figures on posters in his home. So you might see more of this. There's really very little that can be done other than law enforcement trying to disrupt these plots here at home, and people to be vigilant, people to make sure that they're taking their own security precautions that they can in their day-to-day into their own hands. Yeah. But yes, high alert for sure here at home.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm carrying an extra magazine today, Buck, so I'm not going to be a victim. Let's also talk about the fact that Democrats are literally defending the Iran Supreme Leader, but they're also condemning the fact that, well, Trump might activate sleeper cells here in America. And I'm sitting there thinking, it's like, you Democrats let them in here in the last 4 years.
Well, something that I get into in, and you mentioned it, and thank you, my New York Times best-selling book, Manufacturing Delusion, which I certainly hope folks at home will read. The primary review I'm getting is, wow, it's actually really good, and there's a lot of history and research and interesting things in the book. So I'll take it, you know, damning me with faint praise there, but people are really surprised at how worthwhile the arguments are and how much history about exactly what we're talking about, which is political madness. I mean, the book is about the tactics, the techniques and procedures that have been used by totalitarian regimes and by the far left here at home to make people believe crazy things. And, Carl, one of the craziest things is anything Trump does has to be wrong. Anything Trump does, we have to oppose. I mean, that is itself a form of insanity. Trump jokes that if he cured cancer, then all of a sudden Democrats would be pro-cancer. Well, Trump is on a win streak here where he might have done more for human freedom and more to liberate millions of people around the world than anybody, certainly since Reagan. And Democrats are asking him to cross the T's and dot the I's more. They're complaining about the manner in which he goes about this. It's absurd.
And they're trying to hold a vote to restrict his power. Buck Sexton, hold up the book one more time.
Oh, thank you. It is a fantastic book, Carl. I'm sending you a copy, by the way, Manufacturing Delusion, about political madness, about totalitarianism. Why are people in this country losing their minds? Get this book, you'll know.
Oh, that's why. You know, Buck, we appreciate it. All right, coming up, Hillary in the hot seat.
I'm done with this. If you guys are doing that, I am done. You can hold me in contempt from now until the cows come home. It doesn't matter. We all are abiding by the same rules. I'm done for now.
She sounds pleasant. The House Oversight Committee dropping the deposition video from the former First Lady. Wait until you see the rest of her tantrum. But first, militant Islamists storm, or at least try to storm, American outposts abroad and quickly learn that we're not the same military anymore. That's next.
It's our America. We conquered it. We built it. Great values like honesty and fairness. Great courage. A great nation needs a free press. Newsmax is it. 30 million Americans regularly go to Newsmax when they really need to know. They watch Newsmax TV at home. On the free Newsmax app, they go to Newsmax.com. Start today. Newsmax is real news for real people.
If you still have bad breath by lunchtime, your mouthwash isn't working. Smart Mouth is the only mouthwash that prevents bad breath for 24 hours. This is the only mouthwash I recommend. Upgrade your mouthwash to Smart Mouth today and never have bad breath again.
Support your long-term health with Fatty 15, the science-backed, award-winning Pure C15 supplement.
My skin, my mood, my sleep, all of it has been improved by this little product right here, Fatty 15.
Discover more at fatty15.com.
You know, WeatherTech isn't just for new cars. No matter how old or new your car is, it deserves WeatherTech. With laser-measured protection for practically every car on the road, we've got you covered. Because messes don't care what year your car is. Whatever you're driving, we got it. We got it. We got it. Got it. We got it. We got it. We've got it. Oh, we got it. No matter what year your vehicle is, it deserves WeatherTech. Order your American-made protection today at WT.com. We're WeatherTech. You know we got it.
Hi, I'm Gary Player. I'm a professional golfer. I've won 165 pro tournaments, but what means more to me than all of this is my ability to give back and do good.
You're an incredible human being, but you joined the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. You see the work we're doing.
I mean, what you do is fantastic. Tunnel to Towers is working every day to support America's greatest heroes. Please donate $11 a month at T2T.org.
Violent protesters in the Middle East got a little lesson in FAFO over the weekend. In Pakistan, 10 militants were killed as an armed mob attacked the U.S. consulate. The crowd's trying to storm the American outpost, and they were met with gunfire, which is something we didn't do in Benghazi enough, reminding the radicals that they were no longer dealing with a weak-kneed administration. 2 more were killed near another U.S. embassy in Islamabad in Pakistan. In Baghdad, hundreds more angry Iranian sympathizers tried storming the Green Zone, which houses the U.S. embassy. Each time they tried, they were checked by our security forces. And the violent mob attack interest overseas. That's kind of part of the danger to the homeland. Mike Sarraille, former Navy SEAL, and Morgan Murphy, Senate candidate from Alabama and U.S. Navy Reserve captain. Mike, look, I wish we had this kind of resolve to even protect our own soil in other countries.
I'll tell you what happened in Pakistan. They were introduced to a small but lethal force known as the U.S. Marines. Mm-hmm. There's a reason Marines, not Army, not Navy SEALs, not Air Force guards, are embassies. And you are right, you hit it. You know what's fresh in the mind of those young Marines? Benghazi. And they're not going to let it happen. The videos that came out over social media, I felt nothing but empathy for those Pakistani citizens that tried to raid or assault our compound. They learned very quickly, FO.
Yeah. Well, Morgan, the other thing, too, is Iran appears to be getting bolder with this, with the few forces they do have left. One account is Iran Daily News, which is like a sycophantic proxy of Iran, says, quote, "Do not sleep tonight. You will become familiar with the newest weapons. Even shelters are no longer safe." And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, do not tempt me with a good time.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm not going to lose any sleep over Iran either. And, you know, with regards to Pakistan and them attacking the embassy, I think if our embassy is attacked in any nation, we should no longer accept any immigration from that nation whatsoever, because it's a good indicator of how the people there feel about our country. Don't let them in.
Yeah. Well, Secretary Marco Rubio also earlier today addressed some of these attacks, explaining why the U.S. decided to do what it did when it did.
If we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
Pretty much. Right, Mike?
You know, what people fail to realize is that we didn't declare war here. Nope. Iran did in 1979. When they raided our embassy and took 52 Americans hostage. It's just taken a presidency this long with the moral clarity and the moral courage to actually do what must be done. And I think Mike Walsh said it to the UN beautifully. The price of inaction is greater than the burden of decisive action. This is long overdue.
Yeah, but Morgan, like, look, you may very well be sitting in the Senate very shortly, where there a lot of senators are calling to vote against the president's ability to conduct a strike like this.
Well, you know, if you're afraid of aggression, you better get used to humiliation. The Democrats in the Senate that are calling to try to check the president, they're incorrectly saying that he's taking illegal action. What bunk that is. I mean, they should just call it undocumented action. But, you know, that is really a crisis of their own making. Words matter. And Marco Rubio has pointed out that our words, that, you know, this president is going to stand behind his word, and that means a lot on the world stage.
Yeah, Morgan, where do people go to find out how you can back up Trump?
At murphyforsenate.com. We've raised over $1 million and not a single dime of it from special interests.
There you go. All right, Mike Sarraille, Morgan Murphy, always a pleasure, gents.
Great being with you. Thanks for having me.
All right, coming up, Texas candidates are making their final push for votes ahead of tomorrow's closely watched primary election. Republican candidate for Texas Attorney General Aaron Reitz joins me next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
The grind catches up with everyone, even me. That's why I trust Qunol Ultra High Absorption Turmeric to support my joint health. It's the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric. It helps you keep doing the things you love at every age. Qunol, the brand I trust.
This isn't your average pill. This is Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks.
Rose Sparks is a fast-acting solution because it dissolves under your tongue.
Rose Sparks.
Guys, get started today.
Connect with a provider to find out if Rose Sparks are right for you.
Do you have a yo-yo smile? Sometimes yellow, sometimes white. It's a constant battle between everyday stains and whitening treatments. Until now, get Smile Actives, the daily teeth whitening breakthrough that gives you a more youthful smile and helps you keep it.
At 43 years old, I don't mess around with products that waste my time. Smile Actives is easy, and it works. No gloopy trays, no messy strips. Just add a little bit on top of your toothpaste when you brush your teeth. And ta-da, white teeth.
Just add Smile Actives to your favorite toothpaste and watch the magic happen. Our patented Polyclean microfoam lifts away deep stains for a dramatically younger and whiter smile.
You have a choice. You can have those yellow teeth and just be old Nana or Pop-Pop, or you can be smiling and dazzling and full of confidence. I love my white teeth.
Scan, click, or call for your whitest smile yet. And if you order right now, we'll double your whitening free. Get an extra Smile Actives as our free gift to you, but only while supplies last.
I drink coffee every day. I started noticing that my teeth were not as bright as I like them to be, a little dingy, but Smile Active, it works. Got your boy gleaming.
100% of users saw whiter teeth. Smile Actives lifts away even the toughest stains from coffee, wine, and food, gently restoring your bright, youthful smile. Plus, it's safe for veneers, crowns, and dentures.
It's really a no-brainer if you want to whiten your teeth.
Clinically shown to brighten your teeth 5 shades whiter in just 7 days.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Act now. Get Smile Actives for just $24.95 and we'll double your order free. But hurry, this deal won't last. Smile Actives is guaranteed to work. Whiten your teeth or get your money back. No questions asked. Don't wait. Get Smile Actives for just $24.95 and we'll send you a second bottle absolutely free. That's free shipping, a free extra bottle. That's an incredible 58% savings. Scan the code, go to smileactives.com or call to get your beautiful whiter smile now.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, Matt.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and they're gonna love it.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at gettrumpwatches.com. Please make a great gift. It's Trump time.
Super important election day in the Lone Star State tomorrow. Voters in Texas headed to the polls to pick their party's nominee for Attorney General, of other things. This as their current AG, my man Ken Paxton, is stepping aside to run for U.S. Senate instead. But Paxton has already thrown his full weight behind his successor, Aaron Reitz, the battle-tested conservative he calls, quote, fully vetted, proven, and ready to keep fighting on the border security, election integrity, and every front against Biden-era overreach. Sounds like a no-brainer to me. The man himself, Republican candidate for Texas Attorney General Aaron Reitz. Sir, close race, but, you know, it looks like you might be the guy.
I think I might be the guy. Look, I agree with you, Carl. It sounds like a no-brainer. The number one thing that Texans want to know, as Paxton is now seeking a position in the United States Senate, is who's going to succeed him. Paxton's been in office for nearly 12 years, fighting all of the major fights that not only Texans love, but frankly, that have shaped American jurisprudence that Americans love. And we can't afford to take our foot off the gas. We need somebody who's been battle-tested, battle-tried. That's me. I've been endorsed by Paxton. I served in the senior ranks of the Trump administration at DOJ. Trump called me a true MAGA attorney and a warrior for the Constitution. And I'm not a Navy SEAL, but I'm a Marine. And so I like to bring that Marine fighting spirit to these courtroom battles that we're engaged in right now.
We love it, man. I mean, dude, Marines were the guys we called when we were in it over in Iraq. So we love the Marines. Let's also talk about something that you are definitely going to be faced with and probably already being faced with on the campaign trail. Safety. I mean, over the weekend, this mass shooting in Austin, the FBI is now investigating as potential terrorism. What say you, sir?
Yeah, look, I live in Austin, Texas with my wife and our 4 children. We drive by that particular bar on 6th Street 2-3 times a week. We know exactly where it is. The bottom line is this isn't just suspected terrorism. We know exactly what's going on here. Here's a guy who, quote, legally immigrated into the United States from Senegal, a Muslim-majority country. He's a practicing Muslim wearing a hoodie, as you're displaying right now, that says property of Allah. Underneath that hoodie is a T-shirt with the flag of Iran emblazoned. And in his car, from which he first opened fire with a pistol before getting out and opening fire with an assault rifle, was a Quran. We know exactly what motivated this guy. Jihad is coming to American and Texan soil. And as AG, I'm going to smoke out this network of the Sharia law pushers and get rid of it.
Well, I tell you, too, I mean, your predecessor, Ken Paxton, who we love having on the show, he's been fighting to stop all kinds of this Muslim infiltration. Epic City, which, you know, was a huge thing. It was going to be a religious city in Texas that would exclude basically non-Muslims. But you're also going to be faced with a serious question here. You have, like, I think it's like more than 1 or 2 mosques a month popping up in Texas trying to revamp that whole electorate there. Are you going to be able to do something about this? Is it time to consider whether or not Islam in Texas is a political ideology?
100%. Islam is a political ideology, and it's totally incompatible with Western and American civilization. One of the things I've been promising on the campaign trail, and I've got the record to back it up, is that I want to treat this dark network of Sharia law pushers like the feds treated the mafia in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Ask yourself this: how many mob bosses did we put behind bars for committing murder? The answer is not many. Why? Because they're sophisticated. They wipe their fingerprints off the weapons that they committed their crimes with. But instead, what we were successful with is going after them, choking them out with a bramble bush of litigation, investigations, regulations on process crimes, financial crimes, racketeering, money laundering, trafficking in terms of drugs, human sex, RICO violations, tax evasion, you name it, to where over the course of a decade or two, we were able to fully choke out the mafia's operations. We can do the exact same thing here in Texas with a new target and with the right attorney general. I'm the only candidate in this race that knows how to do it. I've done it before. We'll do it again. The crescent moon will never rise in the Lone Star State while I'm AG.
My man. Well, you can also count on the fact they're not going to get any money from Iran anymore because there's not much left. All right, Aaron,
Totally
we
right.
appreciate it. Good luck, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, let's head over to our White House correspondent, Mike Carter, who's been covering the president's activities amid the Iran strikes. Mike, what do you got for us?
Yeah, Carl, good to be with you. President Trump saying today the biggest wave of attacks on Iran are yet to come. And the president laying out a 4-point plan today on his objectives in Operation Epic Fury. They include destroying Iran's missile capabilities. Secretary Rubio saying today Iran has been producing more than 100 ballistic missiles a month. Also, annihilating Iran's navy, ensuring Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, and disabling Iran's terrorist proxies. Trump says decisive action is needed now to crush Iran's military ambitions before it's too late.
The regime already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases, both local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America.
The hardest hits are yet to come from the U.S. military. The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now. Someone was screaming, how long will it take? I don't know how long it'll take. We have objectives. We will do this as long as it takes to achieve those objectives.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth saying today Iran is not Iraq and that this will not be an endless war. President Trump says Operation Epic Fury's objectives can be achieved in 4 to 5 weeks, but with the capability of going far longer than that. But Carl, as you just heard from Secretary of State Rubio, the U.S. plans to achieve its objectives in Iran, no matter how long it takes.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. All right, coming just hours before Dem Governor Spamberger blasted Trump for ICE, quote, terrorizing communities. An illegal with 30-plus arrests stabbed an innocent American woman to death. I mean, coincidence, right? Sanctuary pop priorities in action. All that in our Culture Clash.
A new president is sworn in. America's greatness is restored. Millions of Americans are tuning in to Newsmax. Even President Trump says Newsmax is terrific. Watch Newsmax or download our free app on your TV or phone today.
As a neurologist, my patients are often concerned with age-related memory decline. I recommend Qunol Brain Health with 2 powerful, high-absorption ingredients clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Qunol, the brand I trust.
To a hacker, your tax return isn't just paperwork, it's a gold mine. Your social security number and bank data are their biggest payday of the year. Old antivirus software can't keep up. You need PCmatic. Our default deny technology blocks every single threat that hasn't been pre-approved. If we don't know it, we block it. Secure your return right now. Buy PCmatic antivirus and we will give you PCmatic VPN for free. American-made security for homes, businesses, and government agencies. Visit PCmatic.com.
Have a structured settlement and I call J.G. Wentworth 877 cash now.
I have an annuity, but I need cash now.
Call J.G. Wentworth 877 cash now.
It's your money. Use it when you need it.
Call J.G. Wentworth 877.
Call 877 cash now to get a $100 gift card for a free quote.
We age because our cells do. Fatty 15 is the first and only pure C15 supplement, a crucial nutrient that actually reverses aging at the cellular level.
I'm 56 and a half, and I want to feel my best and look my best, and I find this is the one supplement that has helped me get the results I want.
Fatty 15 has over 36 cellular activities that support metabolic, cognitive, liver, red blood cell, and immune health. Give your cells what they've been missing. Use code TV for 15% off your order at fatty15.com.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Order online and save $45. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS. That's urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS.
You can join the Tunnel to Towers mission to do good by donating your car to today's veterans. Your car donation will help Gold Star families, as well as injured veterans, our first responders, and our homeless veterans. Donating your car is quick and simple. Any car is accepted, and we will pick up the car for free. Simply call 844-BRAVES.
By donating your car, you can make a real difference. You can do good.
Our president has sent poorly trained federal agents into our cities, where they have arrested and detained American citizens and people who aspire to be Americans. And they have done it without a warrant. Our president told us tonight that we are safer because these agents arrest mothers and detain children.
Virginia governor who campaigned as a moderate, Abigail Spanberger, condemned ICE officers last week in her response to the president's State of the Union. Not even 24 hours after an illegal immigrant with more than 30 arrests was arrested again, murdering a woman at a bus stop. Spanberger, again, ran as a moderate, just ended the state's cooperation with ICE in her first week being sworn in. Like, when are we going to start charging these lawmakers with the crimes that the criminals are actually doing that they let out of jail? Daily Caller reporter Ashley Brasfield and political strategist Luke Ball. Ashley, I'd be down for putting her in some bracelets and hauling her in front of a judge.
No, you're exactly right. When they show you who they are, believe them. That's what you have to go with the Democrats nowadays. You do not prioritize American citizens. They are prioritizing illegal immigrants. That woman that was stabbed, I believe, also was a mother. How about that, Abigail Spanberger? Instead of these citizens, that means American people, people that came to this country or were born in this country legally. That is it. It's really straight and simple.
Yeah, no, it is. Luke, here's another thing that's just absolutely insane to me. Chicago public schools, real problem. Like Douglas High School, according to the Wire Points report card, Douglas High School has a capacity of 912 students. There's only 28 enrolled in the entire school. The school has 27 employees, which is basically a 1-to-1 staffing ratio. And virtually none of the kids coming out of that school can read.
And the principal has one of the highest salaries in the state, according to that piece of paper. And maybe they ought to start paying him to go and recruit students to show up. Also, Carl, if you can put a gallon of 2% milk beside the proficient in reading statistics on your state's report card, and that 2% is higher than the majority of statistics that you have on that piece of paper, you have a major, major problem.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so let's go over to Kansas here, Ashley. 1,000 people are being impacted because the state has invalidated driver's licenses and birth certificates of trans people because of a state law requiring them to note on their documentation the sex they were born as. So that gender stuff ain't gonna fly.
So you're telling me that Kansas is accepting the truth is what that means, actually. Correct. What gender actually is and what biology is accepted, and even most religions basically at this point. So Kansas is doing the right thing here, obviously. I mean, there's really just no room to accept this. And when we go back to even voting, they don't want to have people show their ID. It's because cases like this, because it would invalidate it. And they should be doing this. I mean, you have to show your birth certificate usually to get a driver's license, in my experience. So, that should show what gender you are on that.
Yeah.
I see no problem here.
Yeah, it's not a problem for us normal people. Luke, just when I thought I didn't hate Canada enough, or at least their government, this is insane. Posting from the University of Toronto, looking for an assistant professor in computational biology and data science. Okay, saying that the selection will be limited to candidates who are women and gender minorities, those who identify as women, trans, non-binary, two-spirit, and gender fluid based on the gender identity that best describes the applicants in current time, radicalized persons, visible minorities, indigenous people, and persons with disabilities. These are all made-up things, Luke.
They are, and that's why I applied for it, Carl. You also get a $170,000 taxpayer salary, and no one can deny me because I could just show up and say that I'm Two-Spirit or that I'm trans. Who are you to deny my reality, and who are you to deny my gender? And by the way, if it even has to deal at all with biology, that entire curriculum is made up along the way because that professor is definitely not teaching actual science.
Yeah. I don't even know what that is. Well,
I think I'll be kick their butts in hockey.
Yeah, exactly. I know. You guys don't even make good maple syrup anymore up there. Come on. Ashley and Two-Spirit Luke, we appreciate it very much.
Thank you,
All right. Coming up, day 17 of the partial DHS shutdown that you might have forgot about. At a time where we need Homeland Security to be stronger than ever, the Democrats need to get their act together. Break that down in a sec.
Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. And with USPS Ground Advantage, your packages stay in our secure network, dock to door, nationwide. For full visibility, near real-time tracking, affordable pricing, for peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
Kibble. It's been the standard for decades, and it's failing our dogs. That's why we created Badlands Ranch Superfood Complete. It's gently air-dried, locking in the nutrients and the flavor dogs go wild for. Visit your local pet food retailer today.
When an earache strikes, you need relief fast. Introducing Earache RX from Dr. Easy, the makers of Wax RX. Not just another eardrop, Earache RX is real medicine with 4% lidocaine. Earache RX has the maximum strength available without a prescription. Strong enough for adults, yet gentle enough for kids. Earache RX gives you fast relief that starts working on contact. Don't wait for an earache to strike. Get the power of real medicine. Get Earache RX at these fine retailers.
If you still have bad breath by lunchtime, your mouthwash isn't working. Smart Mouth is the only mouthwash that prevents bad breath for 24 hours. This is the only mouthwash I recommend. Upgrade your mouthwash to Smart Mouth today and never have bad breath again.
Your Florida life is calling, and we have the answer. Valencia in Florida by GL Homes. Premium 55+ living in 5 prime Florida locations. Gorgeous new homes from the mid-300s to 2.5 million. World-class resort-style living 24/7. Huge clubhouses, on-site dining, pickleball, and more. Effortless, low-maintenance living. Valencia, your Florida life is calling. Experience more at valenciaflorida.com.
Are you ready to make your dream kitchen a reality? With high-quality cabinets, accents, and accessories designed for all styles and all budgets, Cabinets to Go is the place to go. Get the craftsmanship, styles, and features you want at a price you can't find anywhere else. And right now, you can get it all at 0% for 48 months. We'll even help you imagine it before installation with a free 3D design. Visit us at any one of our beautiful showrooms nationwide to get started today. Cabinets to Go, designed to wow.
At a time where our national security needs to be stronger than ever, as I mentioned, the Department of Homeland Security still partially shut down thanks to Democrats not wanting to pass a spending bill. Yesterday marked the 23rd anniversary of DHS and its creep on our constitutional values, but we still need them standing at the helm of this country's national security following the terrorist attack of 9/11 is when they were dawned out of. Now, Secretary Noem says, quote, as the threat landscape continues to evolve, DHS is there by air, land, sea, or in cyberspace. The DHS workforce boldly confronts threats of our nation that it faces every day. Look, I don't think everyone understands that while the DHS does overstep its bounds sometimes, it is including the funding of helping and saving people, but also FEMA, and it's been unfunded since February 13th, which is not only concerning for, unpredictable events, natural disasters, but Noem's also worried about host cities for the World Cup, since we're now holding up $625 million of funding for that. The Senate votes on the shutdown this week, and Noem is set to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee tomorrow morning. Mehek Cooke, attorney and counterterrorism analyst, and Omar Qudrat, appointed member of the Homeland Security Advisory Council. Mehek, if we can't, they want to keep DHS shut down to defund ICE, but ICE is funded and everything else is not.
You're right, Carl. And what Democrats are really doing is they're playing Russian roulette with our Homeland Security today, because we are in a proxy war, whether we want to admit it or not. And Iran has sleeper cells in the United States of America. The whole reason DHS was created was post 9/11, like you said. We have thwarted over 150 terror attacks, according to CSIS data. Out of that, 50 homegrown illegal terrorist attacks that the Heritage Foundation has talked about. So think about what we're doing to their funding. We're risking it. Secret Service is stretched thin. Cyber defenses are weakened. We're continuing to just completely bootstrap a agency when we need it the most, and we need it today. And I think President Trump has made it very clear that he's going to be forging full steam ahead. What we need is Democrats to stop playing politics with American lives.
Yeah, especially considering this, Omar, that Germany is warning of these Iranian sleeper cells. I mean, we're having the same warnings here in America, but this is why we need a Department of Homeland Security.
The current situation with Iran makes this even more acutely, it's catastrophic, potentially, what the Democrats are doing. They're playing with national security. Let me just say this really straight. Just because Democrats defund DHS doesn't mean that DHS's mission stops. The tasks to secure this mission continue. Right now, the question is, who are the beneficiaries of this? What are Democrats trying to do this for exactly? And what this really comes down to is that Democrats want to protect illegal aliens and criminals.
Yeah.
And so the way to do that is to vilify ICE. As you pointed out, this defunding defunds actual 22 other agencies and not ICE. ICE is already funded. And so all these fundraising emails, I'm sure, are going out, misrepresenting that this is actually doing something to inhibit ICE, but it's not. The beneficiaries are fentanyl networks, cartels. You got terrorist networks that watch our security posture very closely and look for opportunities to exploit, and foreign intelligence agencies. So Congress needs to restore funding to DHS immediately.
Yeah, but heck, Boston City Council, in the midst of all this, they just voted 9-4 to hide whether or not ICE detainers were ignored or involved, illegals charged with crimes, because they didn't want to give oxygen to what they're calling a false narrative. Yet Boston police ignored all 57 detainers last year. I mean, these are people that could have gone on to do real harm.
Well, Carl, why are we surprised? I mean, we spent 4 years where the commander-in-chief, Joe Biden, trained people to completely ignore the rule of law. He opened a border. He told individuals at Border Patrol, don't do your job. You are glorified babysitters. Allow access. I visited the border and talked to Border Patrol. So now when we're looking at city council, when we're looking at these sanctuary havens, they're really hubs for illegal activity, illegal criminals, and more American violence. So this doesn't surprise me. This is one of many. We need to start pulling funding.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's the problem, is they want to defund DHS. We want to defund people like Mayor Wu, who wants to let criminals back out on the street, but whatever. Omar, Mehek, we appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, before we go, happy little Hillary at her deposition. I have never seen a more petulant woman. I thought she was bad, and now I know she's real bad. Next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
So, here is a before of my stomach before Sono Bello, and this is after.
This year, don't just lose weight, lose stubborn fat and sagging extra skin permanently at Sono Bello.
I wanted the results of a tummy tuck, but not the downtime.
We've helped over 300,000 people transform.
Do you want that flat stomach? You go get that flat stomach.
Schedule your free, no-obligation consultation. Our flexible payment options make it easy to get started today. Call or go to sonobello.com right now.
Home inspectors, contractors, roofers. All kinds of pros recommend Leaf Filter.
Why? Topped by stainless steel micro mesh, Leaf Filter is engineered for protection. In testing, Leaf Filter handles double the water volume of common hood-style guards without overflow. Our product design is driven by relentless innovation, ensuring optimal performance even in the toughest storms. And we back it all with a lifetime clog-free guarantee.
Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com.
Omaha Steaks semi-annual sale is back. Save 50% site-wide on America's best steaks, chicken, burgers, and more. All backed by our 100% guarantee. Right now, you'll get 12 Omaha Steaks burgers free with your order. Visit omahasteaks.com/TV today.
Total Beats, America's best-selling Beats brand, is available at Walmart. Total Beats blood pressure support soft chews contain a key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. Take control of your health. Head to Walmart and get Total Beats blood pressure support soft chews today.
Power of disease. Ticks and fleas. Estinal word.
15 million dogs and counting know Simparica Trio offers triple protection against heartworm disease, ticks and fleas, and intestinal worms, all with 1 monthly chew. This drug class has been associated with neurologic side effects, including seizures. Use with caution in dogs with or without a history of these disorders. Don't just protect, triple protect.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Why go on Roe? Because 1 in 4 guys.
1 in 4 guys.
1 in 4 guys experience ED. On Roe, ED feels like no big deal. Connect with a provider to find treatment that could be right for you. 100% online.
Roe designed or curated treatments to make ED feel less stressful. There are options to fit every need, like fast-acting dissolvables or daily gummies. If 1 in 4 guys deal with ED,
then 1 in 4 guys should go on Roe.
Guys, connect with a provider at roe.co to see if you qualify.
Now, the GOP Oversight Committee finally releasing the Clintons' deposition tapes from a few hours ago. Take a listen to the interaction between Hillary Clinton finding out that Congresswoman Lauren Boebert released a photo of the hearing. Roll it.
If there are photos that are being released of the secretary as she is testifying, can you please explain how that can
I'm done with this. If you guys are doing that, I am done. You can hold me in contempt from now until the cows come home. This is just typical behavior.
We will go off the record.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
So I would like to understand how that's permissible.
Before the hearing was.
It doesn't matter. We all are abiding by the same rules.
I will take that down.
Yeah,
So
well.
I would like to take a break at this moment.
Yeah,
I'd like to have
I'm done for now.
Go off the record. Go off the record.
At this point, what difference does it make, right? I mean, at least nobody died in an embassy getting firebombed this time. I mean, this woman is insane. This is the same woman who played dumb on bleach bidding. I'd bet you a sandwich, again, that she has definitely met Jeffrey Epstein. It's unbelievable, Rob.
They're videotaping the whole thing. They're going to release the whole thing on video and the picture.
She acts like a whiny baby.
Yeah, she got mad, Hillary.
Anyway, man, America time.
There you go. I love it. Carl, good to see you. Thanks so much.